So just a bit of background to this piece. When we did literally on the back of an envelope come up with some ideas and some topics, I was aware that Adrian was going to be talking about continuous improvement. And then the working title, well, in fact, the title until about 2 hours ago for this session was going to be continuous improvement to complementary practices, which seemed like a really good idea at the time, which was 3 weeks ago. And then this morning I changed my mind. So I've changed that to continuous delivery, but it was still trying to segue or build on whatever Adrian talked about, if you can, Phil. So, David Brailsford. So you want to talk about continuous improvement, you want to talk about continuous improvement, certainly after someone who's a keen cyclist, you've got to drop David Brailsford in. And his quote was different, but in this one we were talking about if you took every single element involved in riding a bike competitively and improved that one thing by 1%, add it all up, you're in a good place. I'm paraphrasing. I should have foresawn that Adrian would do David Brailsford, so I should have had a plan B. Luckily, I had a plan B. Right? So plan B is my mum. So, mum, continuous improvement, what do you think? If it works, do more of it. Thanks, mum, love you, bye. Adrian will see everything through the lens of cycling. I tend to see everything through the lens of agile if I can. And so the idea of improvement has been implicit in anything I've discussed before. Remember the 3 pillars of empiricism. Oh, now then, we're paying attention. What are the 3 pillars of empiricism? Transparency, inspection. I could drop the mic and walk, couldn't I? My work here is done. So adaptation would suggest that, well, you're going to change, and you wouldn't change for the worse, would you? You change for the better. So I think implicit in that is improvement. Well, go with that anyway. So I see everything through the lens of agile, fine, probably more specifically Scrum. And there are 2 presumptions that never get mentioned. I did ask before who's read the Agile Manifesto, and it was 1. Has anyone read the Scrum Guide, by the way? Oh, 1, okay, good. Anyway, you read the rules of Scrum, just as there are values in the Agile Manifesto. Nowhere does it talk about the 2 presumptions, because there are 2 presumptions in there. One is that you've got skilled people. If we go back to the point at the beginning, which was about empowering the team and having self-organizing teams, the presumption would be, we've hired the talent, you guys know what you're doing, we'll give you the constraints, we'll give you the time boxes, we'll give you a framework, but within that you'll decide, we'll tell you what we need and you'll figure out the best way of building it. So one of the presumptions is skill. But another presumption, which is really important when we talk about continuous improvement, is actually a willingness or a desire to improve. So, does anyone come across Kaizen, the term Kaizen? Gets trotted out on courses and events like this, or literally good change. So whenever we look at frameworks like Scrum or consider Agile, then sooner or later someone is going to talk about, continuous improvement, continuous improvement. And everything about Agile points in that direction. Yes, we want to adapt, so okay. Part of that is responding to change, but part of that is we want to improve. We could play Agile bingo. I was going to go to the flip chart, but I kind of promised myself, don't do the flip chart thing again, Phil. So we'll kind of visualize this without me going to flip chart. But we could play Agile bingo. We already had, Adrian kicked off before, talked about incremental gains. Well, if you look at Agile, and for one of them, let's go for Scrum, we do things incrementally. In fact, there's a term called the increment, that we build things up gradually. Another thing that Adrian talked about before is you don't try and take on a big thing, you work on lots of small things. I mean, we use terms in Scrum around the backlog. You don't want to tackle an epic, you want to tackle a user story. You want to bring in small manageable things. You want to get stuff done. That's the aim, you want to get stuff done. And because we do work iteratively, we do break things down into small bite-sized chunks, then not only do we need to break the work down into small bite-sized chunks, because we aspire to get that done. We aspire to get that done. When we don't get it done, and sometimes we don't get it done, we need a period of reflection. So in Scrum, we have the retrospective. We meet as a team, we look at the work and how we did what we did, and what went well, what didn't go so well, what are we going to do next time? We meet on a daily basis. We've already talked about that. If there wasn't a desire within the team to improve, they would just be going through the motions. They would be turning up for daily scrums and doing the holy trinity of yesterday I did this, today I'm going to do that, I have no impediments. Moving on. There'd be no desire to improve. And so you could take out those meetings, save yourself 15 minutes a day. You could take out the retrospective at the end, which frankly is the most important 4 hours of the period you're going to spend, because there you're going to look at how you did what you did and how you can make improvements to the way the team works. Not how we're going to improve the product. That's a previous meeting. So yes, continuous improvement is desirable, but I always manage to bring it back to culture if I can. I wanted to segue into whatever much time I've got available to me, continuous delivery shortly. But is anyone familiar with the figures for Amazon.com? Amazon.com, you'll have heard of Amazon.com, bit of a startup. And they have got continuous delivery down to fine art. Now, I don't have a figure for 2017, but I've got a figure for 2011. And this wasn't one team, because that would be a bit of Hogwarts thing, but every 11.6 seconds, they shipped. Now, we don't say shipped anymore. You've got a more up-to-date number? Fantastic. 1.8. I was going to hedge my bets and say we must be sub 6 by now. 1.8 seconds.
Facebook has a similar one though, right? 50 changes a second or
right.
something like that.
Yeah. And there's the bar. I mean, I can remember back in the day I had hair and there was a nosebleed about a daily build. And the waterfall, let's talk about waterfall. 2 years, we go away, build, and hopefully we can ship by that date. You've got a date in 2 years' time, and we're worried about hitting that date. We bring in, let's say Scrum, because I get paid by the word, up to 30 days. So within 30 days, we want to ship something. We take the word ship out, because that has connotations of DVDs in boxes that we literally ship. Now it's release. So we could potentially release once a month. And people go, whoa, once a month? 1.8 seconds. That's not one team, clearly, that's lots of individual teams. And there's a big part in there around automation. Clearly got to be automation in there. But unless that team was looking at the way they worked and what all those steps were, what activities are we involved in? Yes, there's going to be some requirements, there's going to be some analysis, there's going to be some design, there's going to be some coding, there's going to be some testing, some user acceptance. We're going to get all that done and ship, release. You've got to automate all those things. So tooling, of course, is important, but tooling is just there to help you achieve what it is you want to achieve. So let's not have, we'll have the integration sprint and we'll have the testing sprint. No, within each one, the desire, the aim is to get stuff done, is one of the essences of Agile. So continuous improvement for its own sake, no. What is it we're trying to improve? We want to improve the way we do stuff. We want to build product. We want to build valuable product. How many of time? I don't need that long. I don't need that. I early finish, off to the Pendolino. So, I've mentioned earlier, I've changed the slide deck a couple of times, literally in response, I couldn't work fast enough for David Brailsford, so that was just go with it, Phil. But I was doing a piece for conference a couple of weeks ago, and I thought I had the best solution for the message I want to deliver. And it was this. I don't know if this you can actually see it in the light. And I just thought, well, we've got this. It's always got to be about memes these days, isn't it? It was clickbait this morning, wasn't it? Clickbait. Present through a meme and you can't go wrong. So I thought this was just the funniest thing I could possibly come up with. Right? You keep using that word agile, And I could keep this up all day. You keep using that term MVP. I'd built a whole series of these. You keep using that term MVP. I don't think it means what you think it means. You keep using that word feature. I don't think it means what you think it means. So I did it. I was so excited. Got on the Pendolino, went down to London, to that, did it. Tumbleweed. Nothing. No one got it. Or they weren't playing. Okay? Can I just check, just to keep me up, does anyone get the reference? Does anyone, it's not Billy Connolly. We've got one. Maybe I've someone do here too. Princess Bride. Fab. There's now a board game, a role-play game apparently. Yeah, woo. One of my top 3 movies. It's joint 3 with Wonderful Life. I could tell you about it. It's kind of a modern fairy tale. Doesn't do it any justice. Go check it out. So anyway, fail early. No. Learn early, right? So get up there, 800 people, go, ta-da, that'll get a laugh, didn't get a laugh. So you've just got to have that personal retrospective on the Pendolino. Won't be doing that again. So now, sticking a baby in a meme, you can't go wrong, right? So you've got to understand, what does your user, what does your customer value? And it's clearly not Princess Bride memes. Sticking a baby, you can't go wrong. And this was one of the toxic things around Agile. Was that a question or was that a hair thing? No. Oh, okay, fine. So this was really, I just wanted to finish on a baby meme and work backwards from there. How do you justify that? That whatever it is, as long as there's a willingness or a preparedness to change and to improve, that and skill will help. Yeah? I think I'm done. I can't top baby. Yeah? Okay, thank you very much.